-1 speed.
And a pair of 10s for Sinos.
5 checks. $75,000 bet. C3. 75.
You know, Tazarek just hoping that Sinos has the part of his range that he's going to get some immediate folds from this C-bet. But, you know, Sinos with that backdoor flush potential, okay, or 2-pair, you know, another reason to continue. I think that there's obviously some turn cards that would have made it a little harder for Sinos to come along. But, you know, here, just going to be beating, you know, any of the 1-pair King X, Queen X hands. Obviously, some Ace X going to be in there betting the gutter on the flop. Tazarek not willing to give up here. And, you know, it's just that recognition from him that the big blind is going to have a lot of the weak 1-pair hands that you're really trying to get to fold with this second barrel. And I really think that it would have worked if Sinos didn't turn 2-pair. It just doesn't even feel that great, though, because as Sinos, you don't even really know if you want to put in a raise, right? Because King Queen can certainly be out there. You know, some Ace Jack, of course, sets. You're just really bluff catching here, even with 10s and deuces.
Oh, please don't bet into this full house.
Last time I saw this happen was the 1977 World Series of Poker main event. Some chap called Doyle Brunson won it.
Rip Doyle.
Okay, maybe this lead will save Tazarek some chips. I would have liked Sinos to just check it again. But he decides to just come with the bet.
Later.
Nice one.
Okay, well, that's going to bring this session to a close, and we are going to play into level 26 on the other side of the break, because we are still at 19 players, and we're trying to get down to 16 today. Sticking with this lineup at the featured table, blinds are going to be going up to 25.50.
Not enough.
That means the table chip leader, Arian Hassan-Kashani, will have 50 bigs. The table short stack, Andrei Lubovetsky, will have 18 bigs. Everyone else bunched up in between, and it is now starting to get shallow. It's the first time in the tournament we've seen the average stack significantly below 50 big blinds. So we'll be back in around 18 minutes time. And a reminder, if you are watching on YouTube, we're deploying a new stream. You'll need to switch. We'll post the link, we'll pin the link. You can switch and continue to enjoy the action when we come back here in Cyprus. In the run-up to the final table, how much time, if any, did you spend on stream on one of the feature tables?
I think day 4 or day 5 was the first time I made it to stream. I was at a side table with Chris Moneymaker, actually.
Right.
Chris and I don't know each other super well. We've probably played, you know, 10 hours of poker lifetime, but I've definitely kind of held over on him. I've just had the best hand a lot, and he kind of made a reference to it on stream. You know, when I sat down, he was like, oh, great, I'm not going to win another pot. And you know, I think I had like a fairly good showing on stream, picked up some chips. And then it really wasn't until I think day 7 or 8, you know, when we were down to the final 27, that I was kind of front and center on stream the whole time.
So speaking of playing on stream, I remember not so much your final table, but especially the year beforehand, people really picking apart the play, really having a debate over, you know, strategy and...
Oh, don't worry, Joe. There's a hand from this final table we're going to come to in a moment, which we are going to pick over, but carry on.
Okay, good. But How do you feel about that yourself? Your play being talked about, being analyzed, being picked apart. Are you able to do you avoid it? Do you read it and agree or disagree? How did you feel about all that?
Yeah, I didn't follow it too much. I know in the past few years, and I've always enjoyed watching the final table. I'm never one to like pick people apart. I know it's people playing for life-changing sums of money. The pay jump from ninth to eighth is usually bigger than everybody's biggest score. So it's hard to just, throw all the money out the window and say, I can't believe this guy, bet 3 big blinds in this spot instead of 4. What an idiot. And you have guys, Chris Krupp, great player. He's famous for going on and just bashing all of these guys. And Scott Sieber has done the same thing. And, they're unbelievable poker players. But at the end of the day, I guess I'm kind of going against what I said earlier, that amateurs don't really have a chance to make it to the final table, but you don't always end up with the best of the best at this final table. So it's a lot of guys who are kind of in my position or even a little bit worse that are, good to great poker players. But as soon as you throw this amount of money in there, kind of all strategy kind of goes out the window a little bit.
I mean, when I see those sorts of opinions flying around and that sort of scrutiny, not that I really have a choice in the matter, but my fantasies of making the WSOP main event final table definitely get dampened a little bit because I'm like, I'm not remotely as good as any of these people who are really getting trashed. Like, I don't know that I want to put myself through that. I almost like it almost kind of kills the dream of it a little bit.
Yeah, I hear you. I think I've always been someone, and in my entire life, not just poker, I really don't care what people think about
Hell
what
yeah.
especially, when I played online poker, I was far and away the tightest player. Everyone made fun of, oh, Daniel's so tight. How does he play no hands? Oh, but he wins and he, grinds out a nice living. And, I think I had the advantage of playing on a handful of live streams before this where
Right.
I had made some very unorthodox plays that had all worked out that, if those plays don't work out, I'm looked at as this idiot, like, at a WPT final table where I call it all off with bottom pair and I happen to be right. But even if I'm wrong in that spot, I don't care what the people are going to say. At the end of the day, I'm the one making the decisions.
Yeah. And
Oh, I wish I had that.
one thing the critics need to remember, again, as we were talking about, this is day 10. It's very difficult to be at your best and be playing your absolute A game after 10 long days of poker. Now, I do want to talk about the final day, the second half of the final table, Daniel, because there were 3 things that really shocked everyone. The first is that it was so short, right? Because you guys were really deep. Everyone was expecting this to be like 10 hours of action, maybe like, 5 hours of three-handed and then another 5 hours of heads up. It was super short. I guess that was as much of a surprise to you as it was to everyone watching.
Definitely. I had a ton of friends and family come out that knew very little about poker. My current fiance at the time knew very little. Her whole family couldn't tell you, how many cards were in the deck. So we kind of prefaced them by saying, we're going to be standing around for probably 10 to 20 hours over the next 2 days. You're not going to be able to see very much. And I'll kind of tell you when to cheer. For it to kind of go the way it did, where, big hands kind of clashed and the big stack just won every all in, it was kind of a relief. I didn't want to be in there battling for 10 straight hours every day.
Yeah.
Because, I was kind of exhausted.
Of course. I'm sure you were very grateful it went the way it did, not just the timing, but the actual result as well. So the second thing that shocked everyone, and this is, I guess, the controversial hand of the final table, it's Adam Walton's shove with eights, 80 big blinds pre-flop. I mean, obviously you were the beneficiary of that, but do you think that was a case of fatigue, impatience? Do you think the hand was played correctly or overplayed?
I think what's interesting is if this had happened in, a $1,500 tournament earlier in the World Series that wasn't the main event, no one would bat an eye. I mean,
Right.
Three-handed poker with very aggressive players. And yes, we happen to be 80 big blinds effective. Yes, it was on a $2 million pay jump and, maybe it was a giant ICM punt by him. I think I listened to another podcast where some people a lot smarter than me broke down the hand and they said, it's totally justifiable what he did. So at the end of the day, I don't think he made a giant mistake. I think The only mistake he might have made is thinking that, you know, maybe I was a little crazier than I was. I played very straightforward the entire tournament. I'm sure most of my rail when I put in the 3-bet was pretty sure I had a big hand. And if you watch it back, I just kind of never got out of line.
He should have known you're the tightest player online. Come on.
Very true.
The final shock to everyone, and I know that the World Series of Poker does not officially endorse or negotiate deals for players, but we know that deals get done behind the scenes. When the payout structure for this tournament was published, everyone derided it, and the jumps in prize money were ludicrous when you consider the variance, especially when you get short-handed. Everyone was 100% sure that there were going to be negotiations, 100% sure there was going to be a deal, but you played for it all. You got the 12.1, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when we got down to 3-handed, you know, I've been in some positions at World Series events before where I wanted to chop, and because they don't facilitate, it makes it very difficult. You know,
Right.
I've had some lawyers draft up quick documents that a few people signed, and, you know, we chopped an event kind of on the fly. But when you're talking about this amount of money and when you don't have Americans involved, it starts to become kind of difficult. So there was never even a thought of a chop until we got 3-handed. After the first day of the final table finished, the three of us kind of got together. We said, you know, let's enjoy this for the night, and we're going to have 3 hours in the morning to figure out if we want to do anything. So that was kind of the plan. I was open to making a deal. I think it's very silly to play for that amount of money unless you are already stupidly wealthy. So waking up in the morning, Stephen Jones and I were actually, you know, kind of ready to go. And Adam was AWOL. You know, Stephen and I were both kind of chatting, like, you know, we want to potentially get a deal done. I think I had asked for a little bit extra over ICM because I felt like I had an edge. I think both of them felt like I had a bit of an edge. And Adam just was kind of late to the discussion. And by the time he got in, we couldn't really come to an agreement.
Wow.
So it kind of just, anything that could have happened kind of fell apart. You know, I had a couple other outside investors reach out to me and offer to buy a piece. And, you know, I did end up hedging a little bit just because I still felt like it was way too much money to play for. But, you know, it is kind of crazy that this biggest tournament of all time didn't get chopped.
I'm Andre, I'm 37. I'm from Hanover, from Germany, and I got the silver pass, yeah. I'm teaching mathematics and physical educational sport, yeah. School break now, and I try to do this because I want to come to Cyprus. It's my holiday, yeah. Like 6-7 years ago, I saw the streams of Felix, and he helped me, and the community helped me to become a better player. It's a very friendly community. People in the chat box support me, and yeah, it was cool. Sometimes they come to my table, and yeah, at the cup, the whole table said, "Oh, who's the famous guy at our table?" Yeah, it was fun to hear.
Ace Queen. War das jetzt der gegen den noch die Achter verloren hat? Nee, das war...
I was Thursday in the stream and did commentary. The cup was very, very, very good, and the main events were at the ticket. I cashed both, so top 5% in both was very, very good, yeah.
Und was hat André? Das reicht. André hat Neuner. Neuner reichen. Neuner reichen. Neuner reichen. Neuner reichen. Neuner reichen. Reichen.
Everything was good. I don't know what was best. Nice weather, nice poker room, nice deep runs. I hope I can go to an EPT event again, yeah.
The Grafton, 10-9 suited. Mike raises from the button, from the small blind. 650,000, which seems to be the standard open at this level. 4-3 off for Leonard. He calls, and we will see a flop. 10-7-5. Top pair for Mike. Action's been checked to him.
Heads up when you're going to be opening a decent percentage of the time from the button. Obviously, the ranges are going to be a little bit wider, and you're going to have a lot of different board coverage. So that's why it's just really hard to fold any type of equity. But this bet, pretty sizable. Couple of draws possible, of course. Definitely puts this gut shot straight draw in a tough spot.
He's played one time bank chip so far. Okay, he decides to check raise.
Yeah, and I definitely can see, you know, the thought process behind this play, because you're not going to have any showdown with 4 high. So if you're able to check raise here and get a fold out of Watson, this is going to be a really nice pickup. But if you get called, of course, you do have some equity. And on certain turns, you would just shut down and give up.
Yeah.
So lots of possibilities. You're certainly not going to like it, though, when Watson does call.
Yeah. And obviously calling here with top pair, which is a very strong hand, heads up. Okay, ace on the turn. 7.55 million in the pot, Maria. Mauer has 7.55 behind.
Yeah, a little bit dangerous, because sometimes Watson is going to have these ace-X type holdings when he calls a check raise. You see Mao checking it over, maybe hoping to get a free card with the double gutter.
Mike Watson checks behind, and it's the 7 of spades on the river, pairing the board. So Mauer does not get there. He is left with 4 high. Nope, he's playing the board. Mike Watson, 10s and 7s with an ace kicker. And as we highlighted on the turn, Mauer has pot behind.
Could he be thinking about trying to bluff in this situation after Mike Watson checks back that turn? Might he see an opening? He does.
He bluff shoves the river for 7.5 million. It is a pot-sized bet. And Mike Watson wants a count. Okay, there was that ace on the turn, but Mike's hand is still pretty strong.
It is, and you know, from Mount, he feels like if Watson had an ace, he's gonna most likely be betting the turn, because there are so many draws from the flop that you want to protect, get some value against. But for Watson, he's just wondering, would Mount check raise the flop with middle pair? Would a 7x type hand want to be check raising the flop? And again, so many draws that have missed from the flop, and Watson doesn't really block any of them. I mean, he blocks 9-8.
Yeah.
But he doesn't block the hearts. He doesn't block the exact type of, you know, gutters, or, you know, the 8-6 combinations, the 6-4 combinations.
I'm not saying for 1 second this is in any way an easy call. And if you call and you're wrong, momentum shifts again, and suddenly the advantage is with Leonard Mauer. Equally, if he can find the call here, it is over, and he has won his 2nd EPT title. He's played 2 time bank chips so far.
Yeah, and still have plenty of time bank chips to spare. Certainly worth mulling over this decision. It's really just about, you know, what type of hands would be willing to check raise the flop and then check the turn and now shove the river. It feels like it's very obviously polarized to trips here. You know, perhaps some boats, not tens though, because I think he would have heard from tens pre-flop. You know, so more like fives full potentially. But again, so many missed draws from the flop.
Understandably taking his time over this decision. Remember, each time bank chip is worth 30 seconds. He's played 3 so far. Playing a 4th. And considering making this hero call, which will give him the win.
And I like to think that against a less capable opponent, Watson might not even give it this much thought. But against somebody as good as Leonard Mao, you have to be able to be open to the possibility that he's able to make this play without it.
5 time bank chips played. So Watts thinking this through. Can he find the call? Can he end it on this hand?
I feel like Watson is going to be able to. Oh.
Yes, yes, he makes the call, and we have our winner. An incredible call from Mike Watson to win the PokerStars EPT presented by Monte Carlo Casino and become a 2-time European Poker Tour champion, joining a very select club. And like that,
wow.
It's over, and no one can quite believe it. He's done it. He's a winner. Leonard Mao, the runner-up. Mike Watson, the champion. Well, this is the 2024 season of the PokerStars European Poker Tour, and we are in Cyprus, where it's day 4 of the main event at the Merit Royal Diamond Hotel, Casino and Spa. We were meant to play 5 levels today, but this is the 6th level of the day because we still haven't got to 16.
What?
Coming back from break with 19 players. We need to lose 3 more. Unlikely to lose any of these 3, or 5 rather, because they are the chip leaders right now.
Who the hell is Oliver Weiss?
Oliver Weiss has actually been at the top of the leaderboard at various points over the last 3 days. He has reclaimed the top spot right now. Former champ Anton Wigg sits in 3rd, Mikhail Shalamov in 4th. So those are the big stacks. There are a fair few shortish stacks. At the feature table, we've got Andrei Lubavetsky, who's playing sub 20 big blinds, because we have now gone to level 26. Blind to 25,000, 50,000 with a 50k big blind ante. But yeah, I think if we get to the end of the next level, if we get to the end of level 26, we will call it a night, even if we're not at 16 players. But there's still a chance with 90 minutes of poker to play between now and then that we will get 3 eliminations, because it did slow down a lot during the last level, and the average stack right now is relatively shallow.
I don't think we're going to get the 3 eliminations. I think that we are going to go the distance here.
Okay.
That's what my widget's telling me. This widget right here.
Please put it away. Let's get an alternative opinion. It's James Hartigan, by the way, with Joe Stapleton.
Hello, my babies.
And we are rejoined live via satellite by Maria Ho. Maria, do you think we will get to 16 within the next 90 minutes of play?
Well, you know, I feel like I want the widget to be closer to being right than wrong. So I'm going to say we will reach 16 before the end of the level.
I thought you were going to say...
And I also just like to disagree with Stapes.
That's what I thought you were going. I thought you were going to say I will always take the widget side over Joe's.
Yeah, always.
It's tough to be on top. Everyone's always coming for you.
So whereabouts in London?
So currently playing a 40 big blind average in the main event.
Domination rotation.
Watford's north. Very north.
I've only lived there 3 years.
You like Cricklewood area then? You're near Cricklewood.
Ebinator asks, is this Chen from Triton Cash Game? That would make sense.
Wood Green.
Given the level of bossing we've seen come from her. Ooh.
Oh, domination restoration with that ace on the turn.
$225.
3 bets, 225,000.
Now we see a delayed continuation bet from Tasirak,
200 then.
called by Hassan Kashani.
Not surprised to see the quick call, of course. You know, once check back that flop, you know that this is a turn card, that the pre-flop aggressor is going to rep a lot. Doesn't necessarily mean that they have it.
Ace queen.
He's saying 3 bets.
I know, it's so funny, isn't it? Yeah.
3 bets, and I'm thinking 3 bet five.
Yeah, but when he's like fourfold, I'm like accumulator or.
8 bet, 3 bet, and I'm like, what? I got used to it.
English, French, Spanish, Norwegian rail sounds sick. What are you
like
in?
The United Nations.
Any good? I should have swapped a piece for it. You didn't even offer it.
Tasirak in action again. Lipovetsky folds the small blind. Bobby James defending his big blind with 6-3 of diamonds. It's an 8-7-5 flop, all spades.
James is deciding that with that check back from Tasirak, he's just going to lead with the open ender, no spade. You know, it's pretty profitable if you just get folds from some overcards that have no spade that aren't really able to continue. Tasirak, though, does have a little bit of showdown with his pair of fives. You know, going to have to fade a whole lot on the river, and that's definitely consideration in calling here, because you don't know if the chips you put in are going to come back, and you're going to have to fold on a lot of rivers.
It's an over 18 show, right? So that's fine.
Bobby James now the second biggest stack at the table.
Yeah, but that's only 38 big blinds.
Well, the chip leader at the table's only got 43 big blinds.
I wonder what's going on at the other tables. You think it's this shallow? I guess it would make sense if it were, right? Considering the hose has been kinked.
Yeah.
For a while.
Three raises, 100,000. 4 passes.
Yes, long border freak. Wig is still in.
6 passes. 7 passes.
Tasirak hovering around the 30 big blind mark now, has managed to pick up a couple of pots this session. Corrent says, does anyone know when the event resumes tomorrow in UK time?
We sure do. Thank you for your question.
Lobster 667 replies, but unhelpfully in the wrong time zone. 12:30 local time, which is actually 10:30 UK time. So because we're on the Eastern European summer time zone here in Cyprus, we are going to be live at 10:30 a.m. in the UK, 11:30 a.m. in Central Europe. Very early if you're on the East Coast of the United States of America, and in the middle of the night if you're on Pacific time.
You can't fold this.
No, definitely not the suited variety, that's for sure.
Eight, 8-3. One diamond, one club. Obviously, Joe, I know that if you weren't working this event, if you were back home in LA, you'd set your alarm for 2:25 in the morning to make sure you are at your computer for 2:30 to watch every single minute of action.
Of what? This?
Yes.
No.
Oh.
No, no, I wouldn't. Definitely not. I thought you were going to say, like, buy Oasis tickets or something, which it may be, but certainly not this. Hey, look at that. It's a pair.
And a club draw for Tasirak.
Yeah, just not much back for Livovetsky. Just 490K in the pots, already 775K. Really was hoping that he could get some folds on the flop. Just get this hand over with. Does have the best hand now, but you know, Tasirak 2 overs, flush draw,
Ooh.
one card to come.
Ooh.
This was a 3-bet pot pre though, and so, you know, you do have to wonder as Tasirak how often, you know, even just your ace high is good in this spot. If you give Livovetsky his value range when he 3-bet pre, then, you know, you're really just looking for a club and perhaps an ace, but you're not even sure if you hit the jack, if it's good. Just a matter of, you know, counting your live outs here, seeing if you have the correct odds. He doesn't feel like he does.
And in this case, his feeling is correct.
I have a feeling that tonight will be a good night.
Uh-oh.
To the outer tables we go. All in and a call. Shakib Miri at risk with jacks against Anton Wiggs ace-jack.
Not today.
And that is a straight on the river, and that is a double up for Shakib Miri.
Through Anton, huh?
Yeah.
830. 450, huh?
Breathe, Chaka, breathe. Bobby James, ace-10 offsuit. 105,000, not 100.
Did he go to raise?
Can you fly, Bobby?
Where's the referee at?
One passes.
We'll pretend that didn't happen. What happened?
I'm sure you want to raise, mate.
Bobby,
Raise.
Nobby.
No, I was joking.
Did you,
It was like, it was the typical,
but
you know.
Phil, did you not see what happened the hand before? He opened to 100. I was like, 240k, I'm going to make it, yeah? And I didn't even notice this guy was still counting out a bet. And I counted out the 240, yeah? And then I saw him put chips in, and I was like, do-do-do-do-do.
I'm like this, I didn't even see you, man. It did announce 7 rings. It did the typical, you know, when you reach out and then you go like this.
Yeah, literally, mate, it was so weird. And then I saw the flop and I was like, I could have worked with that flop. And then I saw the turn and I was like, we save money.
I do like how earnest Bobby is.
Count the raise as well.
He's just having
Like
fun
when you
out
screamed
there.
me the other day when you're like, Bobby, it's on you. And I had to click raise. I got ripped for that.
It's the player's responsibility to be following the action at all times.
I got ripped for that.
It's going to be a huge thrill for such a big fan of mine.
They're like, oh, you're playing a 5k and making mistakes like that. I was like,
Three passes.
Harumph. Yeesha. I need to know more about Yisha Chen.
Okay, let's see if she has an Instagram.
Yeah,
Let's
please,
start there.
please do that.
What do you want to know? If she has a boyfriend? What do you look? What kind of info?
I
are
mean,
you
I don't
looking
want
for?
it to devolve into that, but yes, obviously. But I would settle for just knowing more about her as a poker player because I am somewhat enamored, even on a poker level.
Price.
One raise is 100,000.
Somebody in chat said that she might be the sister of James Chen, which I feel like, I hope they're not basing that off of them having the same last name. There's a lot of Chens.
I mean,
out
how
there,
many people
guys.
could be named Chen out there?
Four passes.
I mean, look at this open with King 6 suited.
Good throw that, wasn't it?
uh-huh.
Yeah, look, she knows her her GTO opening ranges. That's for sure.
Tazarek, you are toast.
Yisha Chen, 249k in total live earnings.
Yeah, and the dealer threw the all-in thing, yeah, and it just landed like that, and it was on film. I was like, wow.
She's in Barcelona
After he was like, can you send that?
last year.
Who was it?
Leslie.
Played a lot of events in Macau and in Manila.
Not Leslie Chow.
The dealer.
Flush draw checks. Original razor checks. Absolute position. Oh, baby. Wow. This is cheeky.
He is a cheeky chappy, is our Halil. Sinos calls the 100k. Chen folds, so heads up to the turn. Pair of threes now for Sinos to go with that flush draw. Tazarek does not fire again.
Yeah, it does feel a little bit like one and done. This is kind of interesting. You know, does Tazarek ever have, you know, any ace X here flatting the open from the button that he doesn't 3-bet? You know, maybe could he have perhaps made a wheel on the end, but it looks like it's Sinos who is going to lead here, which is effectively turning his pair into a bluff.
Meanwhile, we have finally seen a bust out after a long period of time with no eliminations. It is Lander Leo who's just been KO'd in 19th place. So he cashes for $36,740, and we're now 2 away from being done for the day.
Crash Lander.
Nice one.
Bobby James, ace deuce.
Seven raises 100,000. 10 passes. 1 pass.
Kazarek's in with king 10 suited.
You know, Tazarek, this man likes to see a lot of flops. He has a decent playable hand. He's going to try to get to the flop.
7.
And get to the flop he does. That flop is Jack Tray 4.
With 2 hearts.
Those are the relevant cards.
Yeah, it's pretty relevant that the pre-flop aggressor here has a gutter to the wheel and some backdoor flush possibilities. Wonder if he might sometimes want to go for a check raise here when he gives up the betting lead. Does end up just calling here. I do think given Tazarek's VPIP though, you might want to sometimes consider a check raise. I mean, we see that that wouldn't have worked since Tazarek did have a flush draw, but I do think that Tazarek has been known to maybe go for a lot of bets when check to, you know, and sometimes I think check raise from an under the gun open range is a nice play to have in your arsenal against somebody who bets at a pretty high frequency. But you know, this turn card is just going to be all Tazarek.
$325,000 into a pot of 575,000.
Come on, Bobby Big Wheel. Wheel it in there. Wheel it in for the 5 one time. There's a 5 on the clock. It's a sign.
Moving Bobby, I think.
Wait, what?
Yeah, with the elimination of Lander Leo, we need to balance the tables, and that means Bobby, who was due to post the big blind next, is being moved.
Tried to nick a pot before I left, you know what I mean? All right, good luck, everyone.
GL. Bobby, do you think it's coming home?
Fuck yeah. It's definitely coming home, mate.
You know how many levels?
Oh.
16.
Yeah.
Okay.
1 pass. 100. 3 raises 100,000. 4 passes. 5 passes. 6 passes.
Tazarek has been pretty active this level.
Very much. And you don't really expect, you know, players to be that active right now. When you look at the chip distribution at this table, you know, everyone's kind of bunched up, and even a quote-unquote bigger stack doesn't actually have that many big blinds in play in their stack. And it's definitely something that I think his opponents are picking up on, just, you know, a pretty high VPIP from Tassarek. And again, you know, he ended up flopping top pair here, but if you notice that your opponents, you know, are always c-betting as the pre-flop regretting when check two, you definitely want to start incorporating some of the check raises in there, which I think we did see Joyce do, not against Tassarek specifically, but, you know,
yeah,
just on the strength of some backdoor potential and turning some backdoor equity. You know, it's not all about just hitting the flop.
Tassarek with king, jack of strawberries. In action again, opens under the gun to 100K. Midlife Mark, watching on YouTube, says, to be honest, there's a lot of poker played in pubs in the UK, and the table is usually full of chatter. I'm like Bobby, have a chat. I don't like a quiet table. Do you like to converse with your fellow players, Maria? Do you like a verbose table?
You know, it depends on the day, but I don't ever mind when somebody is talkative, and sometimes I'll engage, sometimes I won't. Obviously, as long as they're respecting poker etiquette, you know, not talking too much when there's a big pot going on and all of that stuff, I really don't mind it. Poker's meant to be a social game.
That's right, Ed. Nothing wrong with the natter.
Maria is very friendly at the table, but only to a point. Like if you play in her home game, you actually have to drive to an undisclosed location, put a sack over your head, and then be shuttled to her house so you can't remember how to get there.
Obviously, I've heard stories from this home game. I've just never experienced it myself.
Yeah, well, now that you're frequenting LA a lot, there might just be the opportunity. It doesn't happen very often, but you know, a couple times a year.
Only when the big fish are in town.
Well, we just established I'm around a lot.
Right, so we don't have the game when Stapes isn't around, is what you're saying, Joe.
Look at this. A fun little flush. 6, 7, 8, 9 of hearts. Straight flush draw.
175,000.
Tassarek betting into it.
Because if there's one thing Tassarek likes to do, it's bet. And sometimes you will be beat.
Don't undo all that hard work, Tassarek.
Feels like a straight flush.
Alas, that does not determine the results. You can't go, I feel like I have a straight flush.
I'm more of a feel player, honestly.
Well, that's 250,000.
Not going to give that one much thought with the 4 flush out there.
At least Tazarek didn't get hurt too bad there, but he is down to 26 big blinds. Shortest stack at the table is 22.
That is Andrei Lubovetsky. And it's been folded to Lubovetsky.
And you really have to give credit to Lubovetsky. He's really made things happen for himself without picking up really big hands. You know, we saw him pull off, you know, one stone bluff with the ace of clubs in his hand, the nut flush blocker, and then another one where it wasn't really a bluff, but he was really willing to risk a lot of his chips with that suited ace, 3-betting pre, and, you know, just telling a convincing story. Hitting that turn card, and now has a nail hand with the ace king. Is gonna flip.
Hasan Kashani shove from the big blind. Lubovetsky calling all in, and we are gonna flip a coin. Classic race at the feature table, and a race that Lubovetsky needs to win. Timing, Halil, seriously. 10, 9, 8 on the flop. 6 is holding.
Imagine busting Lubovetsky with 2 6s here and getting us one step closer to the end of the day. Do 6s ever hold? Oh, boy.
10 outs now for Lubovetsky. Aces, kings, and queens working for him. Needs to hit one of those 10 cards, or we are down to 17.
Some chop cards as well.
Good point. Ace on the river. Barry Greenstein saves Andrei Lubovetsky, and he doubles up through Arian Hasan Kashani. He'll be left with 24 big blinds. Lubovetsky has now catapulted to the table chip lead with just shy of 50 big blinds.
4,140,000. Thank you.
How did I know 6s are just never going to win there?
And that just speaks to how shallow and also how bunched up everyone is right now. The shortest stack at the table just doubled up. One of the biggest stacks at the table, and they literally switched places. And the fact that Lubovetsky now has the table chip lead shows you that no one is actually that deep.
Grinding Nemo wants to know, is that the correct shove with 6s against 21 big blinds?
I mean, I certainly feel like you're going to have somebody raise folding off of that stack with hands that they're not going to be able to call off with. I think 6s are definitely close. I mean, again, you know, just considering that there's pay jumps involved and, you know, ICM considerations. I would say that 6-handed, it's definitely not a bad play.
Well, that's good to know.
But it's not one that I think a lot of players would take just from the variance that's involved. And again, we talked about kind of how shallow these stacks are relative to the blinds. You know, yes, if you get that shove through, it's great, but you're risking a lot to pick up, you know, 5 bigs or something.
Yeah.
4 passes.
Tasiarek back in action, raising the button. Sinos with 6s in the big blind. And he's ramming, jamming with the 6s as well. Tasiarek not going to call with Queen 7 of hearts. And we are actually going to step away from the feature table because there is action at one of the two outer tables. Mikhail Shalamov has moved all in and been called by Timo Campus, who's the at-risk player here. He's got ace-queen. Mikhail Shalamov, with the covering stack, has sevens. Another race.
Two aces or one? Two? That's bad for me, I guess. Oh, the meme that is. Yeah. Okay, I might use it now.
King 4-3 on the flop. Sevens still good, and Timo looking for an ace or a queen. King on the turn, same outs needed. Ooh. Ace on the river again. Another appearance from Barry Greenstein to give us another double up.
390. Too lucky. So close.
You can celebrate a little bit if you want.
Barry.
Campus, come on.
So still at 18 players. Still at 3 tables right now. And for those of you asking why are we still at 3 tables, because the EPT plays 8 max until we get to a final table. Libovetsky with 10-8.
Oh, look at this move.
Yeah, well, Joyce just decides to attack this limp. You know, 10-8 just is one of those hands where, you know, these middling cards, obviously if it's suited, it would be a different story. You know, yeah, I think it's just a little bit too hard to continue out of position when it's offsuit.
Philip Joyce playing 1.65 million, which equates to 33 big blinds. And back out into the field again. We've just lost Shakib Miri, eliminated in 18th place, cashing for $36,740. And that means we're at 17. It means we're 1 away from being done for the day.
The man in the mirror.
And with 55 minutes still to run on this level, I think chances are now good that we will get to 16 before the end of level 26. Just one more player to lose today.
I call.
Wow. Instead of just admitting that he was probably wrong, you're just doubling down.
I am willing to wager my entire net worth on this going the next 55 minutes.
A whole $15.17.
My net worth being negative several $100,000.
Oh.
Therefore, getting me completely out of debt.
Libovetsky has opened with 9s, Chen with 7s in the big blind. She rips.
Wow.
And Libovetsky is called. This is not a flip. This is a domination situation, and Chen is the dominated player. And if 9s hold here, she will be eliminated in 17th place, and we are down to 16.
Wait, what? No, not like this.
There is an adage about the number 7.
Oh.
Guys, I might have to call it a night after this.
It's not looking good.
I'm going to be no good to you if Yisha Chen goes out. I'm going to be done for the night.
Yisha Chen could be drawing dead on the turn at this rate. Yeah, does not pick up the straight draw, and she is KO'd in 17th place. She did get the money jump. Cashes for $42,280, but that is going to take us down to 16, and it is going to bring an end to day 4 of the EPT Cyprus main event.
Thank you. What did you have against?
We got to call it a night after this, I think.
Ace 4. Really? What did you have? Ace Jack.
She was a pleasure to watch, but
And had a flush
you know,
draw.
that one somewhat unavoidable. Still, you know, a lot of big blinds went in pre. Also BBB, we just, you know, got to chalk it up to a bit of a cooler.
So players concluded at the feature table. There are still hands in progress at the other 2 tables. So over here, we've got Georgios Saloftis involved in a hand against Andrea Dato. They've gone to the flop, which is 5-5-3.
325.
Oh, well, you heard the man. He is the announcer. And he just verbally declared a bet of 325,000.
Wish they were all like him.
Oh my God, how many chips does Georgios have? That's a ridiculous stack. How did he get all those?
From winning a series of pots, I'm assuming.
Well, he folded that one, but he's going to be bagging tons. There's no way he can't be chip leader right now. And it looks like plays concluded at the other table as well. So 16 players will bag and tag and return for the penultimate day of this 5K MTT. Tomorrow they're going to play down to the final 6. And then we'll come back on Sunday and play down to a winner.
Please make sure you put your ID media cards, your time banks inside, and make a proper chip count before.
Oh yeah, bag your time bank cards as well, guys.
Thank you so much.
So Georgios Saloftis is probably going to be bagging the biggest stack of any player. We do have him tagged as the chip leader.
Yeah, that tracks.
Now, we've had players reach the giddy heights of like 4 million. He is bagging close to 8 million chips.
Oh, man. That's awesome.
He's going to be coming back tomorrow in the catbird seat with 7.97 million.
Not quite 8, though, is it?
Good night, guys. See you tomorrow.
Good night.
Sorry, I gotta reach my arm around my big chip stack. It's hard to write at this angle. It's so big. Yeah, sorry if the zeros are a little messed up. It's just that my chip stack's so big, it's kind of hard to get the pen around it. I have to make sure I didn't cover up any of my time bank cards, my giant stack.
Now he's got the challenge of spelling his name.
He's like, oh, why is it so hard?
Meanwhile, back at the feature table, it's been a great orbit for Andrei Lubovetsky. Remember, he was the short stack. He ends as one of the big stacks now. He's bagging about 80 big blinds. 3.97 million for him. And remember, we're not even halfway through this level, so when they come back tomorrow, we'll pick up where we left off with about 53 minutes on the clock at the 25-50 blind level.
Yeah, Lubovetsky was really picking his spots well.
Absolutely, to finish the day on that stack. We see Halel Tesserac finishing around 24 big blinds, Arian Hassan Kashani 23 bigs, and yeah, the blinds will remain the same tomorrow, at least for 55 minutes. But yeah, we are going to play down to 6. So Maria, thank you very much for this evening. Thank you for putting in the extra 40 or so minutes. We will talk to you again tomorrow evening.
My pleasure. Speak tomorrow.
And we are going to hit these payouts tomorrow. We are going to start hitting the 6-figure scores, and then on Sunday will pay out the top 6 places, including that winner's prize of more than $1 million. That means 2 days of Cards Up coverage still to come here in Cyprus. A long one today. That might mean we get to the final table a little bit quicker tomorrow, but I wouldn't bet on it.
No, never bet on that.
So reminder, live updates on Poker News, and as was the case today, they will be observing the 30-minute delay so you can follow along in real time. And of course, check out the work of Howard and Jack on the PokerStars blog. Updates and stories from the entire festival here in Cyprus. And we continue our live coverage on the PokerStars Twitch and YouTube channels at 12:30 local time, which is 11:30 Central European Summer Time. Day 5, the penultimate day of the main event. Thanks for watching today. From Joe Stapleton, Nick Walsh, Griffin Benger, Maria Ho, and me, James Hartigan, it is good night from Cyprus.